Good day. We bring you the latest and the biggest stories from the Pna Newsroom. World Economic Forum President Jorge Brande lauded the Philippines for achieving its high gross domestic product growth, surpassing other countries in Southeast Asia. The details from Marita Muahe.
In a one-on-one dialogue with President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. in Davos, Switzerland, World Economic Forum President Jorge Brande described the fastest growth rate of the country as incredible. Marcos said his administration is concentrating on the micro, small, and medium enterprises because they comprise a large part of the economy, similar to most Southeast Asian countries. He also said that the government is keeping an eye on the country's unemployment rate amid reports of a recession last year.
It is incredible that I think now Philippines is the fastest growing of the ASEAN countries.
I think in ASEAN, I think we're still the fastest growing.
Yeah, around 7-8%. But since China is also such an important market for you, how do you explain that when China now has been growing a bit slower, that you have maintained or created such an impressive growth? Because that's not the situation in the rest of the world, because the growth has been going down.
Well, it's a deliberate effort on our part, because when we look at the alarming numbers such as debt to GDP ratios in the Philippines, although I always say we are doing better than our neighbors, the numbers is 62%. It is now. It's still very high for us. So the strategy is to have high growth rates and to pull us out of that situation. And so we've done everything. First of all, after the pandemic, or as we came on, as the pandemic has begun to subside, the main concern were jobs. And that was one of the areas. And we concentrated on the MSMEs, the micro, medium and to medium scale enterprises, micro, small, medium scale enterprises, because that comprises such a large part of our economy. And it's the same in most ASEAN countries. And I think that's where the growth is coming from.
Marcos, meanwhile, agreed with Brand that the main obstacles for the Philippines would be infrastructure, quality of education, research and development, and bureaucratic red tape, among others. However, Marcos is confident that the country can overcome these challenges because of the massive labor force. Aside from being able to speak good English, Marcos said that Filipino workers are well-trained and sophisticated. Marcos also said the government aims to achieve economic growth by strengthening its public-private partnership and by reforming the bureaucracy through digitalization. He also expressed openness to working with the participants of this year's World Economic Forum to ensure global food and nutrition security.
The Philippines also has a very specific advantage in that we have approximately 10 million, maybe more, overseas workers that are working all over the world and who remit to their families, so that who remit money to their families. And that has been, in the times of real difficulty for the economy, that has really been a buffer for us. The remittances now comprise about 9%.
For the Pna Newsroom, I am Marita Muahe.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. maintained that the Philippines will not relinquish its territorial claims in the South China Sea. At the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, Marcos said that the Philippines and China, along with other littoral states, have overlapping claims in the South China Sea, with Beijing claiming around 80% of the messy waterway. The president emphasized pursuing diplomatic talks with China and the need to uphold the law.
In terms of the territorial, let's say that we have no conflicting claims with China. What we have is China making claims on our territory, and that is how we approach the problem that we find. Because we've established our baselines. They were the baselines as was drawn out was given to the UN, and UNCLOS has accredited those baselines as the baselines of the Philippines. And we lived with them for many, many years without a problem. And suddenly things had changed. So I suppose China has some strategic concerns that have caused them to do this. So it is, again, we are always, if you have been listening to the ASEAN pronouncements, it is always the rule of law. It is always UNCLOS that we talk about, because it's not only the Philippines who has these issues with China amongst the ASEAN members. And so that is the approach. I mean, some people say, even within the Philippines, that we should do more. And I said, what do you want to do? Go to war? Nobody wants to go to war. We don't. China doesn't. The United States doesn't. So, but just having the tensions increase in the region already has an effect on trade, on all of the exchanges that we have.
A lawmaker praised President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s version of holiday economics, saying it will boost domestic tourism without significantly affecting productivity or adding to labor costs. House Ways and Means Committee Chair Joey Salceda said a boost in domestic tourism by 10% will add value to several sectors, such as personal consumption, trade, food manufacturing, transport, and hospitality. He said the 10 long weekends this year will especially benefit those planning for revenge travel after the COVID-19 lockdowns. Proclamation 90, signed by President Marcos, amended Proclamation 42, declaring the regular holidays and special non-working days for 2023. Marcos said that longer weekends encourage domestic travel and thus increase tourism expenditure in the country. Salceda, however, warned that the holiday economics should balance both making longer weekends without increasing the number of total holidays so that industries would not suffer from losses. A new Senate bill is proposing the establishment of evacuation centers for every local government unit, making this the second time of its kind in the chamber. Senator Rafi Tulfo's Senate Bill No. 1652 mandates that the centers must have basic facilities, an accessible location, and adequate emergency supplies such as water, medicine, and relief goods. Tulfo noted that the Philippines is one of the most typhoon-prone countries in the world, with 19 to 20 typhoons entering the country and 7 to 9 of them making landfall. He said government courts, gymnasiums, schools, and churches do not meet standard measures for a proper evacuation center and may even cause the spread of diseases among evacuees. Last August, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian filed Senate Bill No. 940, or the Evacuation Center Act, which also seeks to establish evacuation centers in all cities nationwide. Gatchalian's measure calls for a safe and accessible location for each prospective evacuation center, with a calamity-resilient structure that can accommodate a large number of evacuees. That's the latest and the biggest stories from the Pna Newsroom. For more news content, visit our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. We're also shown on the social media pages of the Presidential Communications Office and Radyo Pilipinas RP1. Stay tuned for more news updates. I'm Stephanie Sevillano. We tell stories that inspire change.